to the Extraordinary Acts for Others podcast, brought to you by the extraordinary friends here at Freedom's Ring. We are excited to celebrate the extraordinary goodness being done right here in our extraordinary country by some truly extraordinary people. And after listening to today's podcast, you will excitedly go out and do your own extraordinary acts for others in your community. Are you ready? Let's get excited.
Thank you so much for joining us today and for giving us a little part of your week. And we especially thank you for using part of your time to celebrate the extraordinary goodness that is happening in our country right now. I am Sarah Hunnell, the host and the founder of Freedom's Ring, which brings us the Extraordinary Acts for Others podcast, and I am really excited for today's extraordinary guest. We talked to Brian Steorts of Flags of Valor. They are making American flag wall art that is really so much more than just decorations. He hires combat veterans who makes the wall art and hand signs each piece that they make. And he is proud to make the flag right here in America with American tools, American workers, and American wood. And so he's on a mission to building a company that really gives back to the community. And so there's a lot of goodness in our conversation. But before we get to that, we have the 3 things to know about Freedom's Ring. We're gearing up for our Hard Work of Freedom tour, so all 3 things are about just that. Number one, the Hard Work of Freedom tour is a 20-stop tour of service led by military families. It starts on May 10th, which is Military Spouse Day, and goes through Independence Day. We are doing Extraordinary Acts for Others in New York City, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Diego, Fort Bragg, Camp Lejeune, Glendale, Arizona, Sierra Vista, Tucson, Yuma, Arizona, West Point in Annapolis, Quantico and Virginia Beach, Dayton and Columbus, Ohio, and Fort Knox. People often ask us, where did that name come from? So for our second point, it comes from a quote by President George H.W. Bush, who said, "We all have something to give. So if you know how to read, find someone who can't. If you've got a hammer, find a nail. If you're not hungry, not lonely, not in trouble, seek out someone who is. Join the community of conscience and do the hard work." We leaned into that, do the hard work of freedom. And for us, that is what Extraordinary Acts for Others is all about. As we've said before, our name, Freedom's Ring, we really think that the ring to freedom is responsibility and being active and engaged citizens. So that really spoke to us, and so now we have the Hard Work of Freedom, the service right there in our communities. And so for our third point, that these are designed to be meaningful service projects that better unite military families with their local communities. So if you live in the area, in any of those areas, and want to volunteer, whether you're a military family or a community member, we invite you out. And if you don't live in those areas and you would still like to support the mission, please be a sponsor and help partner with us to help get the word out and to really make this Hard Work of Freedom tour a meaningful and impactful service project for our communities and for the military families who are joining us and leading this. So you can learn more at www.freedomsringusa.org/Hard Work of Freedom tour. Now we go on to our interview with Brian Steorts of Flags of Valor. All right, as previously mentioned, our extraordinary guest is Brian Steorts of Flags of Valor. So Brian, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us how you came up with Flags of Valor?
So I came from a small but big military family. Everyone in my family had served from, my grandfather, a 35 family had served from, my grandfather, 35 years in the Navy, to my father, 25 years in the Air Force. My brother, who was an Army infantry guy, went to Gulf War I, and then my sister, who was also in the Navy during the first Gulf War. So I've always had this, passion to want to serve my country and kind of follow along. I joined the Army and had an opportunity to jump out of airplanes and to be a Army infantry guy, and was stationed at Fort Bragg. And this was all pre 9/11. So this was 1998 to 2001. And, at the time we weren't at war. We were, just training to train. And it was an awesome time, and did that for 3 years and got out and went to college. And then during college, 9/11 happened, and I remember where I was at 8:46 that morning. I think most people do, when the first plane hit the first tower, and I was upset, and I wanted to go back and serve again. My whole family had experienced, and I kind of just felt like that was an unfinished or an open, chapter in my book. So I walked across campus that day and went right into the Air Force ROTC office on base and asked how I can serve again, and had an opportunity to join. And this time, instead of jumping out of airplanes, I got to fly them. So I had an opportunity. And this time, instead of jumping out of airplanes, I got to fly them. So I had an opportunity to be in the Air Force Special Operations Command, and I got stationed down at Hurlburt Field, which is in the Panhandle of Florida, and did that for a long time. And as I was down there, I was deploying a bunch. I deployed 9 times, and on my 9th deployment, and so after I came back from my deployment and just had spinal surgery and was recovering, I was getting to a point in my life that mentally that I didn't think I would get to, right? I went from a high tempo over again to this, sedentary state where I was, couldn't move. I was immobilized from, spinal surgery, and I was just getting a little bit depressed, and I wanted something cool to do, but also I didn't wear my uniform every day. I didn't wear, I didn't have my physical rehab and was having to wear, workout clothes. And it was something I missed, and I wanted something cool for my house, but not the typical nylon cloth flag. I wanted something more substantial. And so doing some research online, I, was looking for wooden American flag. And at the time in 2012, no one made a wooden American flag except for pottery. But it wasn't a made in America, and I just couldn't bring myself to it. And so a friend of mine had said, well, why don't you just go try to make one? And so I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't have any prior woodworking skills or painting, or, I had some tools my dad had given me, but so I said, all right. So the next day I just kind of went out in my garage and just started making flags. And what I found was, it was really therapeutic. It was awesome. It was really therapeutic. It was awesome. Like, I remember going to bed every night thinking, I cannot wait to get up and work in my garage in the Florida heat with a neck brace on and like do something, because it was so therapeutic. And it was awesome to take, they weren't that cool, at least in my opinion. And then, my friends would always drive by like, what are you doing? Or what are you making? And somebody would see this and think, see a flag and think, can I buy one of those? And I'm like, well, why do you want to buy this stuff I'm making in my garage? So I had gone to school for business, but obviously put that on hold to go back into the military again. So I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit from having my first, business when I was like 12. So having been in the military and then having to get some other, degrees in business along the way, I was thinking, well, would it be cool to, because I didn't know what was going to come of my, medical condition. And so once the military decided that I would get a medical retirement after 16 years, I thought, okay, well, maybe I should, work on the business plan a little bit more. So as people were asking, there was demand for people to buy them. And then I don't know, maybe the first 10 or 20 that I had, I remember I donated them because I had people in my community that had passed away overseas. And I asked one of my neighbors if I could donate one to a friend who had just lost her husband. And I thought, well, this would be really cool. Maybe I could just give her a flag. And so I remember walking down the end of my driveway and I met her, and I remember that philanthropic feeling of giving someone something without anything in return, right? It's what I tell people. It's the feeling you cannot buy. You can't buy this feeling. And you guys know what that is, and your listeners do, but it's an awesome feeling. And I wanted to be able to start a company that made things in America, that hired veterans, but specifically combat veterans, that could find therapy in woodworking, but also the camaraderie of being around other veterans when they get out and they transition out of the military. and then always remembering the first flags I ever donated feeling. So that's the three missions of our company. It's really simple. And as a military guy, it's really easy for me to remember those three things because there's only three of them. And if we don't do something that fits within all three of those, we don't do it as a company. And so we launched Flags of Valor 3.5 years ago, December of 2015. And we've been able to hire over 50 combat veterans that have transitioned in and out of service. We've, provided an awesome therapeutic, but really rewarding, cool work environment for those men and women as they transition out. And some of them have stayed the whole time. Some of them Some of them have gone on to other jobs, right? Like you can't, not everyone can progress in a company, and the people's lives change. And a lot of the veterans that come to us they feel alone. They get out and they feel like they don't know what to do, or they just want to be around other veterans. And some of them go off to we've had guys go back into the service. We've had guys going to college. So, I mean, we've seen the whole, spectrum of the workforce. It's been an awesome time and giving back. We've, 3.5 years, and not only have we donated hundreds and hundreds of flags to amazing organizations, but we've also been able to raise almost for those, some of the amazing VSOs and nonprofits out there. So pretty cool, like business model. And we, at the end of the day, like we love what we do. I mean, it's pretty simple. Like I said, we only have three things to stick by.
And sticking with your three components of your mission there, and especially giving back, how do you guys bake that into the DNA? Like as a business owner, this isn't just a marketing tactic, but it's who you are as a company. It's what you stand for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's real, I think it's easy for big companies to be like, oh, we give back, and they just write a check, right? Or the team building exercise, and then they go, at the end of a conference, and then they go at the last hour of the conference, they go and do a giving back, something, right? Us, it's pretty simple. I mean, we have a contact with almost every one of our customers, and we not only lead with the right thing to do, we help kind of prove that, right? Like the Giving Back Tour is a perfect example. We wanted a way we got hundreds of emails all the time, like of amazing stories of people. So we were sitting around, we're like, what if we literally just jumped on a plane, train, or car and asked for nominations, and then just went and rewarded them and gave them a cool flag. And the flag's really just the starting point, right? It's the point of getting us together. I mean, people always say, what does a flag mean to you? And, there's the standard, what means freedom and service and sacrifice. And I freedom and service and sacrifice. And I 100% agree with all of that. But for me, it's like opportunity. I think America is about opportunity. I think that we're a melting pot that, look, I served in a country that I volunteered to join the military. So an all volunteer military service. I rejoined a volunteer-only military. I got out. I have benefits from that time in service, and I got to start my own company. Like, I don't know many other countries that you can do that. So to me, it's about opportunity. And back to my long answer, reinforcing that with our customers through email and video and storytelling and content, it's really important because it's true. And we just wanted to highlight these amazing people. So we just did the Giving Back Tour. And like I said, that's all self-funded from us. That is not like, it's not a marketing ploy. It's like, hey, come check our ad overseas, or Steve, who had ALS and recently had passed away. But just really cool, amazing stories about amazing Americans.
Well, and that's one of the things that really attracted us to you guys, is watching that Giving Back Tour was really amazing, because you're telling stories that don't often get told. You're highlighting other people and the service that they did. And it's just really impressive that giving back seems to be just as important as the other two, about hiring veterans and making it here in America.
Oh yeah, and that's what we say. It's like, the three principles of our company: Made in America, hiring veterans, and giving back. It's like a three-legged stool. There's not one shorter or longer than the other. So without all three of those, we put all the same amount of efforts into all three of those because it's equally important to us.
And so I'm curious about the Made in America company. You have a video on your YouTube page about how you not only make the flags here in America, but you're using American wood to make it. You're using American tools. And in fact, you named DeWalt is a partner of yours, and you had a thank you video to them about how they were to you guys and to invest in you. And I'm wondering about how important it is to build those early relationships and those early partnerships to sustain your efforts.
Yeah, and look, there's no playbook for this, right? I couldn't find like Flags of Valor for Dummies creating a business when I started back at the time they actually had books associated with as I built my brand and I built the company out. And, every one of those went unanswered except for the one. And literally, I just went to DeWalt.com, contact us, sent them an email. And they just so happened to be right in the middle of this huge initiative where they were bringing all this manufacturing, shocker, which is what our company was built on, like industrial manufacturing, bringing it all back to America because they produce millions and millions of products a year at multiple locations all around the United States. And, most people didn't know that. But anyway, they called me literally within 30 minutes. Like I got a call from one of their vice presidents, John, who is a Navy veteran. And he said, look, I love your company. How can I help? And I said, well, I'm not looking for a handout. I'm just looking for like, what tools do you guys make that are, which tools do you guys make that are made in America? And so he just said, well, what do you need? And I just said, well, again, I don't know. I'm just looking for tools. So give me a list of what you guys offer. And he said, well, no, I tell you what, let us send you some stuff. Just tell us what kind of tools you need. So we sent him a small list and didn't hear from them. And 2 months went by. And then all of a sudden, we had an 18-wheeler show up with pallets of tools. We did our whole workshop. And at the time, as a small business with small capital investment to use on tools like that, talking top of the line tools that I don't know what else better you could ask for. And it just started with that. At first, it just started with a call. It just started with a truckload of tools. And now it's formed a partnership. And they've helped our company grow a lot.
I'm like always amazed at the origin stories of different partnerships because they really sometimes seem very unlikely or seem over the top, but they end up being this mutual giving and giving back and being able to receive in a service to that company that they see value in you. You also have another unique partnership with the 9/11 Promise Run. Can you first tell us what that is and then how you got involved with it?
Yeah, so my wife actually was working out at a CrossFit gym with this girl, Jen. She said, this is 3 years ago, so it's only 3 years old, and she was trying to grow it, and she started telling me about it and asked if our company wanted to be involved. And once I heard about it, I said, well, absolutely, we're all in. And so I asked her if it would be okay if I reached out to partners and helped her, raise awareness and grow the Promise Run and grow the Promise Run. And so we got to do that last year. And what the 9/11 Promise Run is it's a run to remember. It's a run that starts at the Pentagon Memorial, where one of the aircraft hit. Obviously, there's 3 locations, and it's a 240-mile run where we start. And it's a 240-mile run where we start at the Pentagon on September the 9th, and we run 240 miles to Ground Zero. We end up in New York City at Ground Zero on September 11th. And each night we stay at a fire station along the way, all pre-coordinated. And it's an amazing time to be able to hang out with the men and back to them and just basically show them that we appreciate them and that we appreciate first responders and the military, and that, something that happened 18 years ago isn't forgotten. And the cool thing about the run is all the money that everyone raised, each person has to raise $1,000, and that goes to, and she just got her 501c3. So it goes to scholarships that are provided from people that were affected, like the families that were, had lost someone from 9/11. So really impactful stuff. And we asked her, part of our giving back was, hey, of course we're going to help you. Like we had Under Armour participate. Under Armour donated a bunch. We're going to help you. Like we had Under Armour participate. Under Armour donated a bunch of shirts for them, which was awesome. Under Armour is one of our partners too. We do some cool stuff with them. But also creating flags for the fire stations. That was cool from us. But also, hey, let's tell the story of what the 9/11 Promise Run is. So part of our video series, the Giving Back Tour, but also, hey, let us just make this video for you. And now you have something cool to market for your nonprofit, but also we're helping you raise awareness by, creating you another content related asset.
Well, and that's an incredible piece of giving back, because oftentimes what's needed when you're in the startup mode, that business knowledge, the marketing, the selling, the everything that kind of entails the business side. And so to share that business knowledge is great. Is there any other partnerships that you guys have, or anything else that you're personally involved in?
Yeah, we work with a couple other amazing organizations. We work with we started out, the first nonprofit we ever worked with was called Luke's Wings, which they work with airline partners and they raise funds to provide airline tickets to family members that a lot of times can't go visit their loved ones because, their loved ones that are in the military that have surgery, or they basically provide that, tragedy, almost assistance for them via tickets, which is pretty cool. And then we've worked with an organization called TAPS, which we just started working with, which is an amazing organization. We actually just built some flags down in Orlando with the NFL and with TAPS and NFL players to give to these 22 amazing families at the time. There was and again, it's just tragedy assistance program for survivors, and it's an amazing organization. Special Operations Warrior Foundation. I came from a special ops background, so that's something that we're really interested in. We've given back to them, and we're looking at doing some more with them. And then another one called Stop Soldier Suicide. Unfortunately, there are a lot of veterans that take their own life every day, and we think we should bring some awareness to that because it's a real problem. And if we can change that number just by one, well, I mean, that's hundreds of lives that we change every year, right? So I don't had some, mental things that struggles that I face with and still do, but I think it's okay to talk about it. I think that's what you need to do. We're not the generation that should keep it inside. I mean, we're all here to help each other and to do, great things, and why shouldn't we talk about it?
Well, and thank you for leading, because I think example is the way that we get more and more people to talk about the issues that they need to talk about and to support the causes that they need to support. I'm curious, though, as a small business owner who's rapidly growing, how do you balance that work-life balance with your family growing? How do you balance that work-life balance with your family and with the business and anything else that you have going on in your life?
Well, I don't have the answer yet. If you know it, or any of the listeners know it, please send me an email, because I love to figure that one out. But no, I love what I do. I do it all day. I've never once been like, oh my gosh, I have to go to work today. I know most people can't say that, but really, it's not a big deal. Like, I love it. Like, some of the bigger business people that I listen to, and they say like, your Monday should be like Friday, and it's true. I work on the weekends. I try to balance my family. I try to balance my family. I missed 400 days of my oldest daughter's life growing up, and that's a long time. And I watched her grow up on Skype. For me, it's don't just be present, but be present, right? Like, as easy as that sounds, I think everyone can understand that statement. But there are many times you go to the park and your people are there with their kids. And there are many times you go to the park and your people are there with their kids and they're on their phone the whole time and their kids are just playing. And I think one of my favorite lines from a book I read, I don't take my kids to play, I play with my kids. And so I'm trying, and I've done a good job at this lately, but basically I've set rules for myself. So I set, like, between the hours of 5 and 8, my kids are home and I'm not working, that I put my phone away. I don't have any electronics. We don't watch TV. We just hang out. It's like, that 3 hours is really quality time, right? So it's me being invested in what they're doing in school, not just like, how's school? Well, it's okay. Like, that's what every kid's. It's a lot of time to invest, and it's worth it. I mean, I wish I could spend all day with my family, but I just can't, right? Like, they've got school, my wife works. So finding really impactful ways to hang out together, but really just being present.
Do you ever get your family involved in the mission of Flags of Valor?
No, I mean, a lot of the fulfillment of, like, our merchandise, like our T-shirts and hats and other things. at first. And we're trying to draw that away from her now because it's getting busier for her. And also she has a full-time job not only just being a mom, but also a fourth grade teacher. So she's got a lot, right? She's got more jobs than I do. So, but no, they love being part of it anyway. They love being part of it anyway, whether it's, if we get a chance to go visit a firehouse to donate a flag and they can join us, or go to an amazing gala where we help to raise a lot of money and they can come be a part of that and not just hear the story, but really see it, right? We do also do a lot of shows where they can come by and help support. We do also do a lot of shows where they can come by and help support. Just being present, people come by and they tell really cool stories. And I think it's important for my daughters to see, something that started in the garage of their house and now it's kind of growing and it's important to be part of the business life.
So in our house, we want our kids to see the patriotism or the service and giving back. And I'm curious on how you guys do that in your family, that if there's any moments where you see your kids mimicking something, or you hear them talking to their friends and you're like, hey, that was a cool growth moment that they definitely got from me. Hey, that was a cool growth moment that they definitely got from me. Is there any of that going on?
Yeah, I think to my youngest, I'm still daddy that makes flags, right? She probably tells her friends that my dad makes flags. Like, that's true. It's just, it's funny. It's cute. Whether I get a chance to come to their school and talk to one of their classes, or we've kind of been teaching them about, this year when we go serve food at like a homeless shelter for Thanksgiving, like what truly it means to have a family, but also to what it means to give back. Like, that's hard. My kids are young, right? They're 5 and 9, but my 9-year-old definitely gets it, and she's starting to understand it more and more. And my youngest will eventually get it, but it's really important for them to be part of that, and for them to see that a company not only can make a physical product, but also can do other things, like them, what the mission of that is, and then what the giving back part is. And it could be as simple as us going through drive-through to get coffee and paying for someone behind us, which I like to do. And somebody did that to me the other day, and I've never had that happen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who was it? They wouldn't tell me, of course, but and they didn't even know, but it was cool. It was like a cool random activity.
Flags of Valor often asks the question, where's your flag? What does that mean for you guys?
We thought the cool hashtag kind of movement of where's your flag it's pretty open-ended, right? It could mean, doesn't just mean is it on your hat, or doesn't just mean is it on your hat, or is it hanging in your house? It's just where's your patriotism, I guess? Where's your, not loyalty, because I think people can take that the wrong way, right? 9/11 happened. Everyone had a flag. There was a sticker on a car. Somebody was wearing a shirt, a hat with a flag on it. The country was unified. It was very patriotic. I think most people understand that feeling. They really can remember what it was like. Everyone was thanking a fireman or a police officer or a military person. I'm not suggesting that we need to do that every day, but why not, right? So why not, right? So why can't we? Why does it take an act of terrorism on our home soil to have a flag on your car? Why not just have a flag on your car? So we wanted to kind of raise that. It's not really a movement, but it's more of just a question of flag, where's your patriotism?
Well, I want to wrap this up, but I have one more question, because as I was preparing for this interview, I was watching clips on YouTube, and there was a video of you getting an award for saving some swimmers down in Florida.
This is the first time it's been brought up, because it is if you Google, it's right on YouTube.
It's really the only video of you not talking about Flags of Valor.
Yeah. So I was, I think in between my 5th and 6th deployment, and there was just a beach that we had always gone to. We lived right near the beach. So she was maybe 3 or 4. My wife was pregnant with my other daughter, and we were at the beach and we saw a kid. It was red flag conditions, heavy currents, don't swim in the water conditions. And he was kind of in the water when we first got there, and the lifeguard came by. There was no lifeguard stand. Got there, and the lifeguard came by. There was no lifeguard stand there, but there was a lifeguard driving by, like in a ATV, and was just like, "Hey, don't play in the water. There's undertow and currents, and there are a lot of tourists that visit Florida and don't understand. Even people that live there don't understand how strong and scary that the ocean can be. Understand how strong and scary that the ocean can be. It's dangerous at times, So, but anyway, we were just hanging out on the beach, and then I remember looking up and I saw the dad from the little boy, like in the water. He was about waist deep. He was on the first sandbar, which is about 20 yards out. He was like asking for help, and I thought 20 yards out. He was like asking for help, and I thought it was weird. Like, I didn't really understand what he was talking about. I was looking, trying to analyze real quick what was going on, and then I saw 3 kids, including the one that was the boy that got told what to do about from the lifeguard. But basically 3 children out there, and they looked like they were in distress, and they were far out. Like we were a good probably 65, 70 yards out and deep water, and 2 of the girls were on like a boogie board with leashes around their wrists, and they were all tangled up, and the boy didn't have anything. So the boy was trying to grab onto the boogie board, and then the girl was trying to grab it, and they were basically choking each other out. I had been a lifeguard in the Army for a little while. Very common thing, right, for people in distress to jump on top of you. So I'm basically having to rip them off of me. I took the boy, I started swimming with him, got him on the boogie board, and just kind of got him calmed down and got the leashes off of them and started swimming them in one at a time. Because by that time, people were coming out and meeting us on the first sandbar. And so I dropped off the first child and then went back out and got the next 2. Somebody heard about it, and some witness reported, and ultimately my base found out about it and presented me with an airman's medal, which is pretty cool. It's I think it's the highest non-combat related medal you can get, which is the general that my base commander gave it to me said, I think it was the first time he had ever awarded one in 30 years. So it's pretty cool for my family. Look, I didn't, like I said in the video, I don't think I was a hero but it was a strange day. It was pretty crazy.
Well, I am so thankful to Brian for coming on the Extraordinary Acts for Others podcast and for sharing his thoughts on building a patriotic company where giving back is such a huge part of their mission and the culture that they're building there. So it really is extraordinary. So visit them at www.flagsofvalor.com or follow them at Flags of Valor on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Now, I just love the spirited stories of this week. These are extraordinary acts for others that have so much spirit in them, that they have made it to our attention hundreds and often thousands of miles away. So if you see any extraordinary acts for others happening in your community, we invite you to share them with us. You can tag at Freedom's Ring USA or use the hashtag Extraordinary Acts for Others. Where a fire department chaplain, Bobby Herring, was raising the station flag. That's when he noticed Derek and Thomas, who are 6 and 7 years old, straighten right up with their hands over their heart to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. The Roseboro Fire Department praised the boys and then posted on Facebook with goodness to go viral around the country. Next, we go up to Newton, Massachusetts, where a 2-year-old Samantha lives. She just loves people, but is deaf, which makes it difficult for people to communicate with her. Her neighbors had wished that they could talk to the outgoing girl, but they couldn't. So as a neighborhood, they got together and hired a sign language instructor to come to them to teach them how to sign basic words. This has made all the difference between them and Samantha. You can watch these videos and read the story on our website, freedomsringusa.org. This week's Extraordinary Acts for Others challenge was inspired by driving around town. I noticed that weather can be harsh on the flag, especially for a flag that had been out all winter long. So, to support a person who does proudly fly the flag in front of their house or business, I thought we could buy a new flag to replace the frayed or tattered flag in front of it. This might mean replacing our own. So if you see one, let's replace it. Thank you for listening to the Extraordinary Acts for Others podcast. To continue to excite your spirit, hit the subscribe, follow at Freedom's Ring USA on social media. We'd also appreciate it if you would share the goodness with your friends by rating and reviewing this podcast. Know that you are extraordinary and have extraordinary abilities to do extraordinary acts for others in your community. This is by doing ordinary service with extra spirit. So we invite you to enter the ring and become a friend, join our family, and do the extra.